Welcome to another edition of Lakeville City Council Wrap-Up. During this program, we will highlight the agenda items presented to the Lakeville City Council at their November 4th, 2013 meeting. First highlighted item on the agenda is item number 5A, Fire Department Third Quarter Report. And to give the information regarding this agenda item is Fire Chief Mike Meyer.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. I'd like to present the Lakeville Fire Department 2013 third quarter report, and I'll start with our mission statement. The Lakeville Fire Department is dedicated to serving the community through the protection of lives and property by providing public safety education and professional emergency response. And before I start our quarterly report, I'd like to mention the passing of retired firefighter Leroy Red Care. Red was his nickname. One thing interesting I learned about Red is how active he was in our community. Most people don't know that he was a 36-year member of the fire department, which is a rarity that we see. So he passed away on October 10th of this year. Fire inspections in the third quarter, we had 117 commercial inspections completed, 5 home daycare inspections, and we issued 8 burn permits. Some of the pictures that you see there, the top left is things that we find on inspections. You can see the outlet with the black burn. That was actually something that they had plugged in that overheated and burnt the faceplate. The top right picture is some shelving that was added. And if you look closely, you can see behind the computer screen is a fire extinguisher that's being blocked by the shelving, and then the electrical panels that are right next to it to the left. And then the bottom picture there is a egress door to a business that is obviously blocked by storage items. So we look at our opportunity to get into the businesses and educate them on these violations and to get those corrected as quickly as possible. August is a very busy month for us when you look at fire prevention visits. We have the Dakota County Fair that we had crews out. We brought our new brush truck and showed that off, but we're also there staffing a fire sprinkler trailer. There's a bouncy, and then we're also doing other fire prevention education while we're there. We had 5 school visits, 20 station/fire prevention tours at our stations. Other things that we were participating with the Parks Department and the Police Department was the Little Tykes and the Safety Camp down at Antlers Park. And then on August 6th, we had 72 night-to-night parties that we attended. And you can see Sparky making a visit to a newer development in Lakeville. If you remember, on that evening we had quite the storms roll through not only Lakeville but the rest of Dakota County. But we did make it to all the parties that were scheduled on our evening. Stepping back a little bit, in July was Panaprog. With the 5+ inches of rain that we had to start our morning, we still had 1,581 people that we served at the waffle breakfast, so that is still a great turnout for what we saw for weather. Later in the afternoon, we had crews out doing the parade, as you can see from the pictures on the top. Our incident numbers for the third quarter. The top bar graph on the right shows 240. We ended the third quarter with 246 calls for service, a little bit ahead compared to 2012, but just about even with 2011. The bottom one shows year-to-date calls. We're slightly ahead compared to the previous 2 years with 667 calls. The top pie chart there shows a breakout of our call types that we've responded to. The one thing, looking at that 31% and the good intent calls, those are a wide range of calls. If we're canceled en route to a call, if we're called for smoke in the area, which we've promptly been finding like for wreck fires and such like that, but those are the types of calls that we respond to and then find that it's something other than one of those other categories. The bottom right pie graph shows the percentage of calls that each station has responded to. We're a little concerned in doing some research on Station 1 with their 33% compared to the other 3 stations and looking at how we can adjust our response areas for Station 4 and Station 3 to take over a little bit of area for Station 1 to alleviate that amount of calls that they're handling. Some of the major incidents that we did respond to during the third quarter, on August 19th was a structure fire on Knowles Path. Stations 2, 3, and 4 responded to that, and along with Savage and Burnsville. This is a non-hydrant area, so we asked for water supply from the other cities. Looking at those top 3 pictures, one interesting thing, if you look at it, the far left picture is a picture looking in their kitchen window of the house, and the next 2 pictures are actually the fire that's occurring at the same time on the 2nd floor. So just an interesting note, when you first look at that picture, you're thinking there's nothing going on in the house, but when you step back and look at the outside, we had a lot of fire in that 2nd floor bedroom area. The bottom left shows a mutual aid response on August 30th. Stations 1 and 2 responded to Farmington to assist with There's actually 2 houses that were on fire. If you look at the bottom right picture shows the back side of the house. And if you can see the other house, all the siding has actually melted off on the house next door. We were dealing with some high winds on that day, which in turn pushed the heat towards that house. The bottom conglomerate of pictures of I-35 are some of the different accidents that we did respond to on I-35 during the construction phase. The one thing interesting looking at the accidents that that have occurred out there is we've been very fortunate that we haven't had any serious injuries. And looking at over the history of cars as far as how they've developed them, built them, that's what is in turn saving a lot of people as far as from major injuries there. The one picture to draw your attention to is the semi that you can see in the left picture there. That day was 2 semis and 3 cars involved in the accident. The semi there hit the J barrier and actually punctured its saddle tank of diesel fuel, so we had to deal with about 75 gallons of diesel fuel that spilt onto the ground. And something I'm going to change a little bit in our quarterly report is highlighting some training things that we did, and I have a short video that I'm going to talk through as it plays here for our ABLE building that was just opened in August. So what we did for some training purposes that we have 3 helmet cams that are dispersed throughout the 3 out of 4 stations, and firefighters wear them, and this is what you're seeing right now as a firefighter going in. This is prior to us actually doing any training in there, that we had to do curing burns in the building to prepare it for fires, which sounds kind of odd that we built a building to do fires in, but we had to do curing burns before we could even burn in it. But just to give you a sense of what they had to do as far as the burns and then what the rooms look like when this is what they would actually look like during training for us. And we're using pallets as our source of fire as far as that's what we burn for our training fires and for this, in this case in the video, the curing fires. So we've got multiple rooms, 3 levels in that training building that we can burn. We can do a lot of different configurations when we bring firefighters up there, from an apartment complex to a commercial strip mall to a residential home. And how we enter that building changes how we want to do those scenarios with them. And the last thing I'll highlight on our training is we partnered with the police department, DCC as far as our communication center, Alina Health, doing a joint training at the school district, training roughly about 1,200 school staff on hostile event response. And you can see from the pictures there, the picture to the top left is them doing the classroom portion of it and how many people we had in the auditorium. The other 2 pictures are a scenario that we did in the gym area. That concludes my 3rd quarter report. We thank you for your dedication and support of Lakeville Fire Department, and I'll stand for any questions.
Next highlighted item on the agenda is item number 5B, Public Works Department Monthly Report. And to give the background information on this agenda item is Public Works Director Chris Petrie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. As always, my pleasure to be here with you this evening presenting our October 2013 monthly report for the Public Works Department. And we'll start, as we have the last few months, talking about construction projects. This should be the last monthly report, hopefully, that will highlight these, at least until next season. But first of all, and the fire chief already alluded to it, Interstate 35 construction, as you all know, that is coming to an end as both the north and southbound lanes of traffic have been opened on I-35 as of last week. And though they're both open and both lanes in both directions are open, single lane traffic can occur still for the next couple of weeks as some final pavement marking is done and removal of some of the traffic control devices prior to winter. Also with the reopening of both the north and southbound lanes, we also have the reopening of the ramps at 185th Street to northbound I-35, as well as the ramp to County Road 50, the off-ramp to County Road 50 for northbound I-35. Now, as you all know, they were only able to complete the northbound work along I-35. They were not able to do the concrete pavement repairs between 50 and 70 for the southbound lanes, and right now MnDOT is planning on that work occurring next year. So in the meantime, we encourage anyone to look at MnDOT's website for project updates between now and next spring, and we of course will still have that link on our city's website for their project page. Continuing on with our major construction projects, street reconstruction is starting to wind down for the year as well. All phases of our street reconstruction project in the Valley Park area have been completed with their final wear course, as well as the majority of the restoration work in the Valley Park area. Now in Clay's Acres and on 204th Street, that's where these photos are from. The base course on all of the neighborhoods has been paved, and of course we're in the process of doing some of the final grading and restoration work right now, and we're doing our best to get it wrapped up here before the snow flies. And if it does occur tomorrow evening, like some of the forecasters are saying, of course we'll even continue on after that with restoration work as we can. Moving on, the 168th Street bridge replacement, you can see in the photos here, the bridge deck prior to it being poured. You can see all of the rebar that's included in that and the extensive work that they go into to create that bridge deck. And then of course the photo on the right is the bridge deck and the rails after they have been poured. The bridge is actually open to traffic, but the remaining work is some of the final paving on either side of the bridge to match in on both 168th Street and Gannon. Depending on temperatures, we'll see if we're able to do that final paving work yet this year. Otherwise, that'll occur right away in the spring, but this bridge is substantially complete. Now moving on to talk about the winter a little bit and snowplow operator training. Of course, October is a transition month for both our streets and utilities division staff. We make sure our people, equipment, and infrastructure are ready for winter. And as far as equipment goes, of course, our fleet technicians are busy making sure that the snow plows are all inspected, any worn or damaged parts are replaced, and that plows and sanders are ready for our inevitable winter. For infrastructure, we have a number of fire hydrants that need to be pumped to make sure that they don't freeze. We also have streets throughout the city, of course, all of our streets throughout the city that have gate valve and manhole covers that might be above grade, and we need to get those adjusted prior to winter so that the snow plows don't hit them. And for people, it's all about the training of all of our operators. Each October, our streets division coordinates training through the Dakota County Technical College for both new and experienced plow drivers. We use our city plow trucks, and our operators spend one day in the classroom at DCTC and then also a day on their road course understanding exactly how trucks operate and gaining confidence in operating a heavy vehicle such as the ones in the photos. But the photos are something that we did for the first time this year, and that's our Public Works and Parks departments worked together to create a safety day, to train all of our operators on safe snow removal, and that included everything from hooking up all the attachments on various pieces of equipment to operating in close quarters, which that's what you can see especially by the photo in the upper left-hand side of your screen. And lastly, of course, best plowing practices, and that's some of the other photos there. Moving on, private hydrant maintenance, and our utilities division completed its first year under our new hydrant maintenance policy. As the council would recall, the policy details the city's inspection and maintenance practices in accordance with the state fire code, and it sets a standard for repair and maintenance of both public and private hydrants. Mailings went out this spring to all of our private hydrant owners that are described in the policy, and it emphasizes what the responsibilities of a private hydrant owner are. With that, there are 99 different private hydrant owners in Lakeville, which accounts for about 373 private hydrants. So over the course of the summer, our staff went out and operated and inspected each of these hydrants. We found about 16 of the hydrants that needed to be tagged for out of service. They did not function, and then repairs have been made to all those hydrants. We also found 11 other hydrants that needed some minor maintenance, but overall it's 27 hydrants out of 373. Very good numbers for our first round through with private hydrants that in a lot of instances hadn't been operated or exercised since they were initially or originally installed. This has been an extremely successful program and necessary to maintain the safety of both our residents and businesses in the community. And the last slide this evening, I could have probably tied this a little better with our snowplow operator training, but winter no parking is now in effect. Went into effect last Friday on November 1st and will continue through the end of March 2014. Reminder to everyone listening is winter no parking prohibits parking on city streets from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. every day or whenever a 2-inch accumulation is forecasted. Residents with questions or concerns can surely contact the Public Works Department or our Police Department. And that does conclude the October 2013 monthly report for the Public Works Department.
Next highlighted item on the agenda is item number 7, Ordinance amending Title 11 of the Lakeville City Code. And to give the information regarding this agenda item is City Planner Darrell Morey.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. Presenting tonight a zoning ordinance amendment. Staff and the Planning Commission's continued response to issues raised by property owners and developers regarding issues with the zoning ordinance that they have run into. And this ordinance amendment consists of 2 parts. They were discussed by the Planning Commission at a work session held in August. The first part of the zoning ordinance amendment pertains to senior assisted living and memory care housing facilities. And we had a request from a couple of property owners that owned commercial property and requesting the city consider amending the ordinance to allow these types of facilities in commercial districts. We do allow them in the OR, Office Residential Transition District, and also in our RH, our High Density Residential District, but not in the commercial districts. And one of the property owners indicated that the zoning ordinance does allow nursing homes, and the state of Minnesota hasn't issued a nursing home license in years. And so really the assisted living / memory care types of facilities are now the replacing nursing homes as the choice for seniors in that situation, and felt that it would be appropriate to allow those in the commercial zoning districts. The Planning Commission, when they held their work session and heard testimony from one of the property owners, concurred with that assessment and felt that they are similar in nature to nursing homes, and there would be no compatibility issues with allowing them in commercial districts, and that would be allowed by conditional use permit, subject to meeting certain performance standards. The second part of the zoning ordinance amendment that's before you this evening relates to unattended outdoor donation boxes. And we have been approached by a couple of companies that place these in the city. Unfortunately, in a lot of cases, they were placed without the city's knowledge, only for them to find out that they are not allowed currently in the city by ordinance. And so it became an enforcement issue. And they had requested, these companies had requested that the city consider allowing these types of boxes throughout the community. The Planning Commission, again, at their August 22nd work session, considered this. There was some written testimony that was provided, and the Planning Commission expressed concerns regarding the compatibility of these types of boxes with the principal use of the property, potential maintenance issues, and potential for them becoming public nuisance. And that's based on a lot of the past with these boxes being placed illegally and close to the roadway, farther away from the main entrance to the business, and items begin to pile up outside the boxes if they're not emptied in a timely manner. Sometimes there's items that don't even relate to what the donation box is that are placed outside, so they become somewhat of a trash or a way to get rid of unwanted items. So the Planning Commission directed staff to consider an ordinance, but to put together some strict performance standards such that we can prevent these boxes from becoming a public nuisance and a compatibility issue. And what we did, and I would like to mention that the ordinance amendment was drafted by our planning consultant, Dan Licht, with the planning company, in conjunction with planning department staff. So what we did is we looked at what we allow and what the standards are for similar types of uses. For example, the Red Box movie boxes, which are outdoors at retail locations, and also the types of outdoor display items that are allowed by at convenience stores and other retail outlets in terms of the standards that restrict their placement and their size and their height. And that's what played a large part in what is before you this evening in terms of the standards that are recommended by staff and by the Planning Commission. It also includes a requirement that there be information regarding the owner of the box, contact information if there is an issue with pickup or maintenance. And probably one of the bigger items that's part of the performance standards lists or states that non-compliance with these performance standards could result in the revocation of the administrative permit, which is the proposal here, and would require the immediate removal of the donation box. So the Planning Commission was very comfortable with the performance standards that was forwarded by staff. They had a public hearing that they held at their October 17th meeting to review the proposed amendment. There was no public comment at the hearing, and the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval. In summary, Planning Department staff recommends approval of the zoning ordinance amendment and also the summary for publication as presented, and I can stand for questions.
Item number 7 was approved by the Lakeville City Council. Next highlighted item is item number 8, resolution authorizing employee health insurance rates for 2014. And to provide the information on this agenda item is Human Resources Director Cindy Justin.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have a recommendation for you for our health insurance for 2014. This would be a recommendation for non-union employees only. The city experienced a number of high claims over the review year, and these claims resulted in a proposed premium increase of 36.5%. Thankfully, we had a rate guarantee of 12% in place if city employees participated in a wellness program, and we achieved 25% participation, which we were able to achieve. So the end result is that we have a 12% rate cap, and in addition to that, the Affordable Care Act adds another 3.7% to that premium increase for taxes and fees, making it a total of 15.7% increase. The Employee Insurance Committee reviewed this and decided that it was time to take a look at some alternative plan designs in order to bring the increase to a more palatable level for both the employer and the employees. So we asked our brokers Financial Concepts to look at what some options might provide to us in terms of cost savings. And we looked at various options, including prescription copay increases, raising the deductibles, and adding a co-insurance. The end result, as you'll see from this slide, is that we are recommending that the deductibles increase for employee only by $500 a person, and for the family, we are recommending that they increase $2,000 for the family. In addition to the higher deductible, we are adding or recommending that we add a 20% co-insurance. Once that deductible is met, the employee will be responsible for another 20% of that cost until they meet the annual out-of-pocket maximum. And also, we are recommending that the copay for prescription drugs be increased minimally. The end result is that we were able to reduce that overall increase from 15.7% to 9%. Staff then took a look at how we should propose cost sharing for the premiums and are recommending a plan which has the employer paying some of the dollar value to the employee, regardless of paying the same dollar value to the employee, regardless of which plan they choose. This makes the plans that are within the defined network the most affordable coverage to the employee and their family. And it will charge a premium for those who use the open network plans. In addition, we continue with the council's recommendation that there be some cost to the single premiums as well. As a result of the changes in both the plan design and the premium cost sharing allocation that's recommended on the resolution, we will be able to reduce the estimated budget impact by over $39,000. So if anyone has any questions.
Item number 8 was approved by the Lakeville City Council. Well, those were the highlighted items presented to the council at their November 4th, 2013 meeting. If you have any questions or comments regarding these agenda items, please feel free to call City Hall. The number is 952-985-4400. Thanks for watching this edition of Lakeville City Council Wrap-Up. Frozen ice in cube form does not possess a dangerous threat when in a glass. But put that same frozen ice on a street or as a coating of snow on a highway, and it does possess a real danger. In Minnesota in 2012, there was an average of 189 crashes per day. Don't let snow and ice-coated roads give you the slip. Slow down when driving this winter.